What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a special presentation of the NCSL Dynasty here on NCAA 14, also featuring that college football revamp as well. As you can see on your screen right now, we have a bevy of conference championship games, and what we are going to do in today's video, we are going to see all of these conference championship games in action, and I am very excited for it. We are going to also, on top of that, at the end of this episode, we're going to review that college football playoff bracket. Who are the 8 teams that will compete for a national championship here in year number 2? So should be an exciting one. I hope you guys are excited as I am, and if you are, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the action. But let's go ahead now and get the conference championships officially started, and we will begin over in the MAC as West Virginia will be taking on the Volunteers of Tennessee. Tennessee looking to notch their 8th win of the year, while West Virginia, they're just trying to get themselves to above 500 as of right now. But we got a close game here early, still no score. But on Tennessee's opening drive, Tennessee is going to run it in with Drew Brown, who punched it into the end zone. That is a touchdown for the Volunteers. But West Virginia will respond towards the end of the first quarter, getting a field goal up on the scoreboard. So we have a 4-point game after 1 quarter of action. However, in that second quarter, Tennessee looks to start trying to pull away, getting it out to the flat. Got his receiver out on the perimeter, as that is some good running for a gain of 9 there. Almost picking up that first down as well. So I imagine they'll go to that read option. And that read option was just ran absolutely beautifully. Tim Landrum going to punch it into the end zone there. And now we're looking at a 17-3 game. However, we jump right into the fourth quarter. We don't see any scoring in the third, but it looks like we are starting to see Tennessee pull away, as Tim Landrum gonna finally get his first passing touchdown of the game. But West Virginia trying to make things interesting late. They do need a touchdown, and then they're also going to need an onside kick as well if they want to have any hopes of coming back and winning here in the MAC championships, as we'll see a throw over the middle to Cedric Minor. So it does make it a 1-score game, but onside kick is on the way, but it's kicked right out of bounds. That will be considered a penalty. We'll see where they end up spotting this football real quick, and it looks like it's just going to go to that original spot. But Tennessee is going to win the MAC, and they will get to 8-5 to finish the this part of the year. However, that being said, we now jump into the rest of the conferences that actually do have some college football playoff implications. We got number 9 Texas hosting the Golden Hurricanes of Tulsa. Texas coming in at 11-1, ranked number 9 in the country, so they are certainly in the hunt to go to the college football playoff, but they might need a little bit of help down the road. We'll see what we can get here, as we do have the quarterback Chase Ingram punching into the end zone himself. Chase Ingram has been a dynamic threat for Texas this year. 3,400 yards passing, 33 touchdowns, and also got a decent amount of mobility to go with that as well, as David Massey will go ahead, pick up the first down through the air as well. Texas looking really impressive on the offensive side of the ball, already looking to get a second touchdown on the scoreboard, and we're not even halfway through this first quarter. They have to send the message so that they can solidify themselves in if the Big 12 does not get that automatic bid, because the conference was not good enough as a whole, which it looks like Texas is really taking that to heart, as they will kick a field goal through the uprights as well. So Texas will have a 17-0 lead. It's a great first quarter. However, the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes, they don't want to be forgotten about either. That's a nice throw to the left-hand side. That is a huge catch. First down for the Hurricanes. And suddenly, Texas was up as much as 31-0. but Tulsa battles right back. They don't go for the 2-point conversion. Tulsa does try to make it interesting. However, it seems like Texas is just simply too much on the offensive side of the football. They are just, with both the passing game and the rushing game as well. We'll see if Texas can go ahead and punch it into the end zone yet again, as they are seeking to get that 40 burger, maybe a 50 burger as well, depending on what they do with their following possession. They'll probably have 2 more drives in this game, including this one, as Chase Ingram in the 5-wide set, but just running it in all by himself. And Chase Ingram will punch it into the end zone on his own. So the Texas Longhorns score yet again, but Tulsa not choosing to give up as they go to their ground game. Antoine Lewis going to punch it in for the Golden Hurricanes to try and close this gap a little bit more. Would really help them if they can get this 2-point conversion, as well as actually getting a stop on defense. That just seems like something that Tulsa has been allergic to in this Big 12 championship game. When speaking of that Tulsa defense, here's them on the field once again. Ingram trying to set up the screen, but they actually get the sack. Chase Ingram is brought down by Daniel McCall, who gets his 2nd sack of the day. But Texas works themselves into a 1st and 10 after the penalty. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Texas does end up getting that 50 burger on the board as the Longhorns go to 12-1 and are champions of the Big 12 after an 18-point win against the University of Tulsa. But now we go over to the Sun Belt, where we check in on the number 3 team in the nation, the Ole Miss Rebels, who will be hosting the Sun Belt Conference Championship. They will be taking on the Tulane Green Wave. Tulane, a team that actually was ranked in the top 25 as recently as last week, but a loss to Southern Miss did knock them out of the top 25, so you do hate to see it. So we'll see if they can be like Jay Sean and bounce back. And it looks like they might be doing that for now, as Tulane actually getting the opening points of this game. But Eric Archie, he is just a guy he is such a tough runner. He is not somebody that is going to go down, at least not so easily. As right now, we got a 2nd and 4 now coming up. Ole Miss trying to run the option, taking it to the outside, and Eric Archie is going to score for Ole Miss. We're all knotted up after 1 quarter of play. Should be an exciting Sun Belt Conference Championship in the wings right here, and we are certainly getting that, as both teams are just trading punches with each other right now. But Ole Miss seeks to take their first lead of the day, and they will, courtesy of Justin Ferwarda. He's going to score for Ole Miss, and now a 14-7 lead. Dropping back, Archie looks over to the right-hand side, and he's going to score with his other running back, as that means Ole Miss has their biggest lead of the day. Just trying to keep that Tulane Green Wave team that has the upset on its mind. With the Sun Belt being as good of a conference as it is, we know for certain that the Sun Belt will be getting an automatic bid. It's just a matter of whether Ole Miss or Tulane, who will we see in that college football playoff. And right now, it seems like Ole Miss wants it just a little bit more, as Lewis Kelly's going to get a nice little reception over the middle, pick up a few yards there as well, and it leads to yet another goal line situation. Archie dropping back. He's got a clean pocket. Finds Charles Rhodes in the end zone. That's a touchdown for Ole Miss. And the Rebels get another one up on the scoreboard. 31-10 now being your score. Tulane trying to get back into this game. Trying to throw a dot to Gerald Harper. There was actually some pretty good coverage there on the outside, but still managed to find a way to sneak that one in. And then Alton Brown again loading up the cannon and firing a dot to Cody Taylor. And just like that, Tulane right back into this game. But can they manufacture this comeback? Can they complete it? They're down by 2 possessions once again after another Ole Miss touchdown. So Tulane's going to need another one through the air and need to score quickly in case they don't get the onside kick. 1st and goal. Brown gonna run it out to the outside. He's got some space, and Alton Brown is gonna score. Touchdown, Tulane. And it's a 1-possession game yet again, but they choose to kick it off to Ole Miss for whatever reason. and the Rebels held the ball for the rest of the game. So Ole Miss wins 38-31. They're champions of the Sun Belt. And now we go over to Conference USA, another conference that could get an automatic bid in this year's college football playoff. This one has Maryland unranked, as we have something that's rarely seen in NCAA. We have a block kick. Is this going to be returned all the way to the end zone? The big boy does not have enough juice to do it. But what an incredible play on special teams. And now Penn State is back in the red zone following the block kick, and they cash it in a couple plays later. Blaine Ingram is going to score. So if Penn State wins this game, and it's a close one, we all know what the biggest turning point was. It was that block kick. It eventually leads to a touchdown, and that could come into play because we still have a tight game between these two teams. Maryland certainly no slouch, even though they are not ranked in the top 25 as of right now. They're going to throw over middle Penn State. Brennan Thompson's going to get the reception for the Nittany Lions, and that is actually his first reception of the day. As we now move on to the second quarter of action, teams will switch the field. A nice little read option over to the right-hand side. Henry staying on his feet, and the Nittany Lions are going to score, giving them the lead once again. But Maryland will close it down to just a one-possession game. As we go into the halftime locker room, it can certainly still go in either direction. Meanwhile, second down coming up for Penn State as they try to extend the lead. Here in the fourth quarter, still the same score. Neither team willing to give up an inch defensively here in the second half, so a score like this could end this game once and for all. 3rd and 6, looks over the middle, and oh, he can't punch it in right then and there, but Jarvis Bell gives him a new set of downs. And the Nittany Lions will now start to run out this clock a little bit, running it up the gut, and Penn State's going to score. George Jones punches it into the end zone. And Penn State might have solidified themselves into the college football playoff potentially if Conference USA gets a bid. But Maryland, they still got one timeout to work with. They're facing a 3rd and 14. Is there a little bit juice for Carlton, who's going to take yet another sack? Makes it 4th and 22, and no choice at this point for Maryland. They are going to go for it, going no huddle as well. Carlton steps up and finds a man. He finds Jonathan Hutchinson for a 23-yard reception. I simply cannot believe what I just saw there, but they're going to get to the line quickly, trying to score, and they do with Craig Holman right after that. But now they need the onside kick. If not, it's going to be over, and the onside kick was not executed very well by that kicker, unfortunately. Penn State is going to survive. They will get to 11 and 2 and will be considered the champions of Conference USA as well. But now we get some American action here as we now go to the great state of Nebraska to watch the number 5 team in the country take on an unranked Bowling Green team. Bowling Green really had a great spurt in the second half. They were able to surpass Iowa just with that 2-game winning streak of theirs. So Bowling Green is coming in hot, and the American also one of those conferences that will most likely get an automatic bid as well. So that being said, if Bowling Green wins this game, we could easily see Bowling Green in the college football playoff all because of that, and maybe get ranked in the top 25 as well. But Nebraska doesn't want that to happen. They blew it against Wisconsin on this very field last year nonetheless, and Nebraska up 7-0, and they'll also extend this lead with a long field goal upfield. Kick is up, and it's going to be good as well. So Bowling Green, if they want to make that dream happen, they're going to need to find something on offense because they haven't really been able to do that yet. They'll kick this field goal up in the air, and Bowling Green will solidify that through. So Bowling Green got a 10-3 lead now, as we'll go ahead and see this quarterback drop back, throw over to the left-hand side, and that's going to be a goal line situation for Jeremy Jackson. Jeremy Jackson going to provide that 1st and goal here as Nebraska looks to create some distance. McIntyre dropping back. He's got a clean pocket. He's just going to choose to run it himself, and he dives into the end zone. Nebraska getting a touchdown there. It is now 17-3. But Bowling Green, look at the pulse of triculation. Are you kidding me right now? I can't believe they did that, but they are pulling all the stops here. Bowling Green is to try to keep up with number 5 Nebraska, but looks like the Falcons are starting to run out of juice. Because after that score, we still see Nebraska rattle off 13 unanswered points. So Bowling Green is now down pretty big here, down by 17. Yeah, only got 4.5 minutes left to play in this ball game. And Bowling Green's going to need some scores, and they need them fast. They're going to go to their running game, though, as Kyle Pascal, that is the FCS transfer. Well, he's going to almost get it into the end zone. He's closing in on 100 yards on the day. And finally, he will be rewarded. No, it's Jake Shaw, but still counts as the same on the scoreboard. Bowling Green makes it a 10-point game. However, that is as close as they are going to get. Nebraska is able to move down the field, get a bunch of time off the clock as well. In Nebraska, they will not have a repeat of last season. They handle business in the American Championship and beat Bowling Green. But now we have our first top 25 matchup between number 4 Miami and the number 2 Georgia Bulldogs. This is a game that I was the most excited about personally. A rematch in the regular season, which Georgia did end up winning in a shootout, but you can never count out the defending national champions, those Miami Hurricanes. So we'll see what comes out of it here in this SEC championship. Would not be surprised to see both teams make it into the college football playoff despite what happens here today. But late through the first quarter, though, trying to run the option, and Mr. Carter is going to fold. He is going to fold like a lawn chair, and Perry Brandon is going to actually intercept the pitch play. It's supposed to be an option, a speed option over the left-hand side. And unfortunately, Georgia picks that off. But this was a game that we didn't really see too much scoring in at all. This was a very low-scoring game. Miami does finally get its first points late in the second quarter. And you would think that would be enough to tie this game, but they actually will end up going about missing. Well, we'll see what happens here if they end up missing this extra point or not. Could be a different game, but no! It bounces off the upright, and that was as close as they get because Georgia would get a couple of field goals after that. This was not a very entertaining game from an offensive perspective, but Georgia does end up winning 13-6. However, two teams that do end up ranked in the top 25 rank, they just joined this league. It's BYU and UNLV. BYU coming in ranked number 22 in the country. They just pulled the upset off against Colorado State last week. And that's why we are seeing BYU in this conference championship game instead of that Colorado State squad. But UNLV, they only have one conference loss the entire year, while BYU 6-2 have the tiebreaker over Colorado State. There's been some pretty underrated football happening here in the Mountain West Conference. It's now on full display as we got for the first time in this series, two teams in the top 25 facing off against each other within the Mountain West, and hopefully it turns into an exciting one as UNLV does get the host, and they will get off to a good start here, taking a 7-0 lead for the time being. But late in the first quarter, though, BYU is going to go to that ground game. He's going to make a man miss, and now he's got a little convoy down the sideline before getting caught from behind. But that is a 28-yard run for Tim Bell there. But now to BYU trying to score. First play of the second quarter and just throws it right on the money for Roy Hafner. That is a big-time touchdown for Blake Snyder, as Blake Snyder just did a great job going through his progressions. And we got ourselves a tie ball game here yet again. Could be in for a little bit of a classic as UNLV looks to answer back. It's got a clean pocket. They only send 3 rushers. Finally finds a receiver after he made a sandwich for himself and Chris Nelson picks up 25 yards on that reception. It sparks a big drive here as UNLV gets all the way down the field. However, throwing it right inside, it's picked off. It's going to be intercepted. Is this going the other way? It might. He is going to go all the way, and he might be like a girl in a country song because he's gone. Touchdown, BYU. Tommy Blair got that interception. He picks off Drew Foster. And instead of UNLV being in the lead, is now BYU in the lead once again. Wow, that is such a change of events. You absolutely hate to see it. As now, 2nd and 7 coming up as UNLV tries to recover from that pick six. Can they bounce back? And it looks like they are, as UNLV does once again drive down the length of the field as they will score yet again. Brian Sanders is going to score here for UNLV. So could have been 21-7 if it wasn't for the bad mistake in the previous red zone trip. But I'm sure they'll be perfectly fine with a tie ball game as well, as BYU will try to do something before the end of the half. Hang on now, we might have a little something here. They end up driving to about the 20-yard line. So a good 2-minute drill for BYU, one in which comes away with points and the lead after one half of football. So it's been a pretty exciting first half as of right now. We'll see if the second half can also live up to that billing for right now. But that being said, BYU, they're really getting that ground game going. They are really finding some success with running the football, as those option plays have been killers so far. Tim Bell, even when UNLV plays him well, he's finding a way to make guys miss as well. Tim Bell getting another 15 yards there. Hasn't carried the ball too much yet today, but when he does, he's averaged 8 yards a carry. He's been having some good runs here, but the big story is BYU's passing. Blake Snyder again making it happen through the air. That's his second passing touchdown of this Mountain West Conference Championship game. And now we'll see the Cougars with their biggest lead, a 10-point lead, as UNLV's field goal does cut it to 7. But Blake Snyder facing some pressure though, and UNLV is going to pick it up. Here comes the Rebels. They are not running away from any sort of challenge. That is a big time fumble that they're able to force as their offense drives downfield. They're looking to cash in, and they do. Chris Nelson is going to score, and UNLV ties it up once again. We have an absolute classic on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. Ain't it great that we are seeing this unfold right in front of our eyes? Two top 25 teams that are certainly equally matched. It shows in the AP poll as well. As now we get into the last 5 minutes of the game. Who wants it more? It looks like their quarterback wants to be the man that wants to lead UNLV to a Mountain West Conference title. That's another big run. And now the Rebels are in the red zone again, looking to take the lead. 3rd and 10. Foster looks over the middle, finds his man, and it's Patrick Wynn who's going to find the end zone. Touchdown, UNLV. The Rebels take the lead with 4 minutes left. And now all the pressure is on this Cougar offense. But it looks like they're rising to the challenge. Getting into the red zone. 3rd and 5 though. Big 3rd down, and they answer. BYU was written off, but they didn't right back. Blake Snyder with his 3rd passing touchdown of the day. And it's arguably the biggest one. One in which that is going to force overtime. BYU will start with the football to begin the first overtime period. And it looks like they'll get an ace in hand for the first overtime. Go punch it into the end zone, and they'll be successful with the extra point as well. So UNLV must punch it into the end zone and get the extra point in order to have a second overtime. But Drew Foster is going to take a critical sack that's going to really bring them back 2nd and long. They somehow converted off screen. I accidentally simulated that particular play. But next play though, my man was all butt naked open. Chris Nelson gonna score for UNLV right there. And we will have ourselves a second overtime. So UNLV will start with the ball with the second overtime. We'll see what they do this time around. Will they end it with a touchdown as well? And they will. Mike McNair is going to score for UNLV. So now BYU, it's in their hands. Ball's in their court. What do they got in their hands? And BYU, balls of steel as they will score in the end zone. Will Wilson, part of that 10 toes down movement. I mean, look at this throw. That is a tight throw, and they're able to sneak it through in there. So now we'll have a third overtime. BYU again starting with the football, but this time, if they score a touchdown, they'll need the 2-point conversion. Well, they'll get that touchdown in hand. You absolutely love to see it. BYU will take the lead. And let's see if they can get this 2-point conversion as well. They will hand it off, and they will score. So now BYU just needs to keep them out in the end zone. UNLV in the third overtime, throwing towards the back of the end zone, but it's underthrown. BYU is going to survive a triple overtime classic as BYU will win their 9th game of the season and be champions of the Mountain West Conference. Well, for UNLV, it's just pure pain and agony. They will fall to 9-4, but still having a great season though. Let's go to the opposite side of the country where we have the ACC Championship starting to kick off. Number 21 Clemson taking on a surprising upstart here in NC State. NC State was a one-star program. This was actually one of the programs that you could have chosen from if you wanted to be a custom coach. And here's NC State. They are here in this conference championship trying to make a name for himself. Maybe play a little spoiler to where they can kick Clemson out of the top 25 and maybe get themselves in there as well. As you know, all this rain and lever here in Death Valley is making it hard for either team to really move the ball against each other. Haven't really seen much scoring as of yet, as NC State will have to take the lead before we go into halftime, as that is a pretty darn good throw there to Tyrion Cunningham. They only have one timeout though, so they will have to move quickly. Clemson sending the blitz, and it looks like the blitz works to perfection, as that is going to force just a non-ideal read. This was not a good read at all. Jerome Gibson just ran the route there for that receiver. So we still have a very low scoring game. Less than 20 points scored between these two teams. It's not even because they're doing a terrible job of moving the ball. NC State and Clemson, well, they're both doing okay in that regards. Just whenever they get into the red zone, they haven't really been able to do anything with those red zone opportunities, right? But NC State, the biggest victim of that, as they've had to settle for field goals all day long. But yet, in spite of that, here in the fourth quarter, Clemson has a shot to win it. They're only down by 2, and they're going to go ahead. Quarterback's going to take off and run, and that's going to be a first and goal situation here for Adrian Davidson, trying to give Clemson the lead here in the fourth quarter. Looking to run it with their running back down the sideline. Couldn't get away, but Daniel Lawson with a good run makes it a much more manageable second and goal. This one being at about the 2-yard line really opens up that playbook, as Alan Grant is just determined to run into the end zone. He finally gets his shot, and now they'll go for the 2-point conversion, trying to run it in, and they will. So Clemson with an 18-12 lead, as NC State could not do anything in the ball. They have to try and get Clemson off the field, trying to run out this clock as much as possible, or at least ruin what timeouts NC State may have left. But I do believe that we might indeed be seeing that fat lady singing at any given moment, because that is going to be good. So Clemson will have a 24-12 lead. Even trying to go for the 2-point conversion, it fails, but it's not going to matter. Clemson is going to be your champions of the ACC in what was a sloppy affair for both squads. But now we have 2 more games left here in this conference championship special. We now go to the Pacific Coast, where USC, ranked number 1 in the entire country, well, they will be taking on the number 6 ranked Washington Cougars. And this Washington Cougars team, reason why they're ranked number 6, even though they lost 3 games, their strength of schedule has absolutely been ridiculous, but they've navigated it well enough to find themselves here. They can control their own destiny. Winning this game means an automatic berth into the college football playoff, as we got a nice run up the left-hand side, down the moon, and Marcus Gatson with a 45-yard run. And it seems like early on, Washington is ready to rise to the occasion as Adrian Nicholas finishes off the touchdown. Washington with the opening salvo against the number 1 team in the nation. However, late in the first quarter, though, we got Ben Scott in the pocket. He's got time to throw, and USC just has a ridiculous number of weapons. They were already having a great team in year number 1, but they really supplemented that with 7 5-star kids in one of the best recruiting classes in the country in that year 1 offseason. And you could see that talent on the field. USC is going to take the lead. Washington, even though they're a really good team themselves, they're going to have their hands full for sure. They're going to have to play premium Washington football, and that's not it. What are we doing here? What are we actually trying to do? Is USC going to score off of this? They're going to need a big-time play, and it's going to be brought down at the 1-yard line. Willie Bradshaw made the fumble recovery. I have no idea what that Washington quarterback was doing, but I know what Ben Scott was trying to do. He was trying to find that end zone. Unlike the other guy, it actually worked out for him. USC extends their lead 17-7. There's now 2 minutes left here in the first half as the Trojans try to build off this lead, and that should have been a little bit more thrown under that ball. Needed a little bit more touch there. Washington gonna get a little bit of help right here, right now. The Washington Huskies, they are out here and they want to try to make it a 1-score game, but unfortunately, they don't do anything with the football. So USC has it right back in their hands once again, and this time Ben Scott, well, he is not going to miss. Ben Scott setting the school record, by the way, for most passing yards in a single season. One that Sam Darnold held back in 2017. He also threw for 4,100 yards. And the scary thing is, USC is going to have at least one more game, maybe more, depending on what happens here for the rest of the postseason. But don't quit on Washington. Jason Smith is going to be able to punch it in this time around with 1 second left in the first half. So we are going to be officially looking at just a 10-point game between these two teams. We got ourselves quite the battle on our hands right now, as USC looks to gear up for a good second half as they look to slam that door shut. Jeff Evans getting open once again. Another big-time throw for Ben Scott, who's now at over 250 yards on the day. Has got a 31-14 lead as USC looking again to throw over to the right-hand side, and Jeff Evans again is going to score once more, or at least that's what we thought. He actually got brought down to the 5-yard line, but Nick Richard will punch it in for USC Trojans, and it seems like it's been all USC here in this second half. A 14-0 advantage in that third quarter. Washington now really needs some help, and it looks like they are not getting that help. Instead, they got an interception. This might be going in the opposite direction, and it does. No flags either, as Clarence Hemphill is going to get another pick 6 for the USC Trojans. Jason Smith just having a game that he just wants to so desperately forget, as this is simply not it here in the second half. USC with a big-time 30-point lead, and oh, you think we're done? Oh no, we are not close to being done yet. They're going for the 50-burger. That's another blown coverage on the back end. Freddie Warren, 68-yard reception, leads to another touchdown. And Ben Scott, have yourself a day, young man. 380 yards, 4 touchdowns as well. It's been an electrifying performance in front of a fully crowded Rose Bowl Stadium. USC winning big against Washington 52-14. And no shock that we will see USC in the playoff. And that takes us to our final conference championship game that we have in today's episode. Michigan taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Michigan ranked number 8 in the country, and Ohio State, well, they're ranked number 11 in the nation, as these two teams actually somehow did not play each other in the regular season. I have protected rivalries turned on. Don't know what happened there, but what I do know is that we got the game in the conference championship game, and that's something that you're always really happy to see no matter what. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Who wants it more between Michigan and the Ohio State Buckeyes? Opening drive for the Wolverines. They're going to hand it off to the tailback, Eddie West, who is going to score, and the first points in Ohio Stadium will go to the Michigan Wolverines. Ohio State, though, looking to answer back late in the first quarter, trying to run that option of their own as they got a darn good running back in Brian Britt. Brian Britt going to score for Ohio State, and that will tie this game up here in Ohio Stadium. Another first quarter later, Vincent Gold running the option, got Brian Britt down the sideline, has to make one man miss. He does. He's now got a convoy all the way to the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State, and the Buckeyes once again. They score yet another one as Ohio State will take the lead here in Ohio Stadium. And Brian Britt did exactly what he needed to do there. Just made that one man miss, and the rest was simply history. Now we go into the second quarter. Still a tight game, could go either way. Arnold trying to throw over the right-hand side, but it's going to be intercepted. Ohio State looking to open it up here in the second quarter, and Warren Arnold's not doing any favors as Matt Rogers, the FCS transfer, gets an interception, the biggest game that Ohio State has played in the entire season. And Brian Britt showing that he can run again. He gets another big time score, a 40-yard touchdown. Brian Britt is going to make this lead for Ohio State. Well, they make it even bigger. And this is some big time running too. There was a lot of traffic that Brian Britt had to navigate, but he stayed calm. Well, now Ohio State looking to build. 21-10 your score as we look towards the end of the first half. Gold looking to go deep downfield. He's got himself a man, and that's Keith Carter. How do you let them get over the top like that towards the end of the first half? That's what they were trying to do so that they can get in field goal range. And now it just becomes a chip shot. It becomes a chip shot, which they'll sink through here as well. Ohio State with a 24-10 lead at the half. Meanwhile, in the second half, Lawrence Arnold trying to play big boy football as the Michigan Wolverines are looking to keep themselves alive and well in this Big Ten championship. Dropping back, looking around. He's going to find John Anderson for the end zone. Michigan, that team up north, as Ohio State calls it, they will get back in this game. They are back in it to a one-score game. And Ohio State, they had to punt it on their next possession. So now, here comes Ohio State. Looking to throw down the middle of the field. It's going to be caught. And it's still on his feet. John Davis with a 40-yard reception. And now Michigan looking to tie. Running the option. And it works to perfection as Garen Myers, the fullback. The fullback of all people, scores. And I'm sure not the expert is out there smiling right now. Fullback you in full effect. We also have a tie game here at the Horseshoe, 24-all. Make that 31-24 as Michigan scores yet again. A Lawrence Arnold touchdown, his second one of the evening. And they could be 8.5 minutes away from going to the college football playoff for the very first time. But that being said, Ohio State looks to answer themselves as Vincent Gold trying to run the option, but he puts the ball on the ground and is really not looking good for Ohio State right now. Vincent Gold, he's in some trouble. He was in some trouble, tried to make something happen, and puts that ball on the ground in an inopportune time. Luckily for the Wolverines, they had to settle for a couple of field goals, but Ohio State down by 13. They'll need big plays like this if they're going to win it. Keith Carter doing exactly that, able to get behind the defense for the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's a touchdown here in the Horseshoe in a 6-point game, but they got to get the ball back. Michigan, all they have to do is run out the clock, but they choose to pass the ball instead, and Lawrence Arnold is going to be intercepted. They literally had Ohio State right where they wanted to. They were starting to use their timeouts, and they choose to pass, get intercepted too, and now, just a 6-point game, Ohio State looking to take the lead. Keith Carter again striking. Call it double trouble as the Buckeyes have rallied from 13 down late in the fourth, and an extra point away from getting the field goal, and they got it. They got the extra point. They now have the lead, and now they just need to stop from their defense. Arnold, we're going to throw over the middle of the field. He's got an open receiver. John Anderson for a 39-yard gain. That might put him on the fringes of field goal range, but they might try to drive a little bit closer as they still have all of their timeouts to work with as well. They want that field goal attempt to really be that last play of the game, and we're certainly going to get that. 10 seconds left. You're going to go for it on third down. Kick is up, and it's going to be bounced. It's going to bounce off the upright. It's no good. Look how close was this to actually get in. It hits the upright, and Ohio State wins 38-37. Michigan going to really need some help from the wild card if they are going to make it into the college football playoff. So now that we know all of the conference championship games have officially been completed, now we go ahead and jump right into, well, who's going to get those automatic bids into the college football playoff. We knew free conference bids was going to be solidified. Pac-12, which is going to send USC. The Sun Belt, which is sending Ole Miss. They beat Tulane. And then Nebraska and their win against Bowling Green. They got the third best one. Nebraska is going to the college football playoff for the very first time. Now, the other two conferences were in a little bit in question going in, but Conference USA does hang on for that fourth spot, and that means Penn State, for the first time, will be going to the college football playoff. This is the second time the conference has won an automatic bid. And then the SEC, Georgia will be representing as the SEC automatic qualifier as the fifth best conference. So the big ramifications of that is we got teams like Texas. Texas is on the outside looking in. They're going to need to hope and pray for an at-large bid. And then the same could be said for Ohio State and Michigan. Those are a few teams that could also be sweating it out as well in terms of getting those automatic bids to the college football playoff. But the moment that you guys have been waiting for, who makes it in to the college football playoff? And I think the first two teams you should not be surprised about. Georgia and USC, they were undefeated the whole year. They got the first two spots at 1 and 2. Ole Miss are champions of the Sun Belt. They'll get the 3 seed. Nebraska moves up to the 4 seed as they were champions of the American and went 12 and 1. But this is the big controversy. Look at who got number 5. Minnesota was 9 and 3, and they got in to the college football playoff. Not only that, but as a 5 seed too. Wow, that's something. That is a decision by the college football playoff committee. Really interested to see how that Nebraska-Minnesota matchup turns out because of the fact that those two are in the same conference too, and Minnesota did beat Nebraska, so that's certainly a matchup to watch out for. Rounding out your field, you got the defending national champions Miami at number 6. Their only 2 losses were to the Georgia Bulldogs. Ohio State does get in at number 7. That big time win that they had against Michigan the end of the year, that does prevail them in that conversation. And then rounding out your college football playoff this year, at that number 8 seed is the Penn State Nittany Lions. They get in as they were the automatic qualifier for Conference USA. Conference USA, of course, being the top 5 conferences in college football here in year number 2. And this will round out your playoff field here in year 2 of the NCSL. So even with this playoff system, there is still going to be a couple of teams that feel like they absolutely got snubbed, unfortunately. Minnesota, that was the big surprise in my opinion, ranked number 5 in the final poll, so they got the first wild card bid. Minnesota, they started the year 1-3, but they were a team that was on a hot streak. They did end the regular season on an 8-game winning streak. They do have a signature win against Nebraska. On the road, they won big 34-7, but also some tough losses as well. Wisconsin was a 500 team, and they lost close in that one. And then they also lost to Western Michigan, who was not even bowl eligible as well. So, Minnesota had a great win against Nebraska, one of the best wins in the country, but also some questionable losses as well, where we take a look at a couple of other teams that felt like they got snubbed. We got Texas in here. Texas is the most notable one. They lost one game the entire season, and unfortunately, because of the timing, Texas is going to be left out of the college football playoff this year. But you look at this schedule a little bit more closely, there really isn't. This was not a very difficult schedule to navigate. They played 2 teams that had 8 wins or above the entire season, and they went 1-1 in those games. They do have a signature win against Rice. That was a 24-20 comeback victory, but that UTEP loss was a tough pill to swallow. 21-49 was that final score. So Texas is a really good football team. There's no doubt about that whatsoever, but Texas just doesn't have the strength of schedule to really push them upwards when they needed to. So Texas, they'll go to a really nice bowl game, don't get me wrong, but this is not where Texas wanted to be, and unfortunately that one loss is really going to hurt them at the end of the day. But before we even worry about that college football playoff, we still have a bunch of games that are going to be going down over the course of bowl season, and we are always excited for what bowl season has in store for us. Next season, all of the games that do not involve the college football playoff, they will all be featured in the next episode. So it's going to be a heck of a bowl season that's going to be coming your way. I'm still really excited about it, as we have a ton of games that we'll be watching right in front of your eyes. We're talking about 27 bowl games on tap here in the next episode, and you will be able to see every single one of them. So I'm really excited about the bowl season episode. I hope you guys are as well, and if you are, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel, as this is John Shea Gaming on the mic signing off for right now. But I hope you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.